Hey guys, guess what Janelle's doing?
Yeah. Oh, you
Go ahead, tell him.
I had to turn my car on. It's cold outside. I
like to start my
that
car too,
bad?
I get it, but
That's bad.
she's told me before something like, I think it was something like, Len knows I ain't getting in no cold car.
I tell the kids, if they're like, Ma, can you take me somewhere? And I'll be like, go get the keys, turn it on. I don't get in a cold car.
You actually do say that?
Yeah, I do. And whenever they complain, I'm like, do you know how many years I warmed the car up for you and it is my turn. They got to take care of me. So, is it a little early? My oldest is 17. Maybe I got to put in more years, Brian.
You put in a lot of years with a lot of kids. Think about the math, though, of how many total.
And all the diapers. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, I tell my kids, I'm like, I wiped your butt. You can do this for me. They don't like it when I bring that up.
That's so messed up. I know. Have you ever done it in front of a friend?
No. Have you?
No.
I was like, well, how'd that go? I mean, maybe I should try that. All right, family. So we were starting a conversation on the air here a few minutes ago that I think is worth continuing here. It's interesting. There was an article from Associated Press indicating that local authorities in the midst of quarantine and social distancing are getting a lot of help from snitches.
That's so crazy.
And Janelle, what do snitches get?
Snitches get stitches. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so messed up.
There's like the reason that local authorities have been able to shut down certain things is because people are telling on them. Let me give you an example. This woman, Gwen, I talked about on the air from Connecticut. From what? How would you say? You're East Coaster.
Naugatuck,
Connecticut.
Naugatuck.
She was mortified when she drove past the golf course, saw a crowd gathered around a food truck, eating together at tables. She got so incensed while she was driving by this.
Crazy.
She takes a video of it, posted on Facebook, prompted the mayor to shut down the whole golf course. She feels great about it. She does. She said, I was angry, I was upset. You're not going to consider what you're doing could kill people? So she snitched on him. Chicago police even disbanded a funeral after somebody snitched that there were more than 60 people hanging out together at a funeral.
Wow.
Police came in, shut her down. Thank you, snitches. Question being, should Christians be snitches? Yes, I said on the air, and it's true. I went to everyone's favorite resource, Google, and I typed in, should Christians be snitches? And there was a really interesting article I found. We'll talk about it in a few minutes. But we'll
David already has an answer. He got to figure it out. He said, no, we should not. We should not snitch.
David says no snitch.
That's simple.
I don't get to see David's ideas? You're just going to keep your
I got my phone on. Oh, Beverly. I got to help Beverly get on. Wait, hold on. Hey, Mike, and Rob is on, and Carol. Rob is quiet. He just he's not gonna say hi.
He's waiting. He's gonna mess with me in just a minute. That's what Rob does. He's lying in wait. He's gonna just slowly come over before he pounces.
So go ahead.
So Mike says snitching is only good if the eventual outcome is beneficial for the person you're snitching on, and there's no selfishness or pride. But that's interesting.
Look at Troy.
I like that. What's up, Troy?
Deborah says, I had someone once tell me when deciding what to say or do, what is your purpose?
Yeah, and that was something really fascinating from this article because it talked about how in the Bible, the word snitch isn't there. Neither is tattletale or narc or squealer or stoolie, we learned today.
Yeah.
Weasel, whatever. But there are examples of informers, which is a very nice way of, I'm not a snitch, I'm an informer.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound dignified? But there's many examples of informers in the Bible, and there's two types. There's evil and noble. For example, the best example of an evil informer would be Judas. Hello.
Yeah.
There's examples all over the Old Testament, too, of disputes with Saul and David and how snitches got involved and it went real bad. But a noble informer would be Mordecai, who was able to, through Esther, informed the king of an assassination plot against him and Jewish people. He told on him. Right?
Yeah, he sure did.
But that was clearly applauded in the scripture. The whole book of Esther is about it. But then it gets down even more complicated in this piece. It says that our motives do matter, which a couple of people have pointed out already. Our motives matter. because snitching is often motivated by jealousy, bitterness, rivalry, and lack of mercy. So we have to think about our motives. So, like, for example, when the Pharisees dragged the woman caught in adultery in front of Jesus, right? Technically now, she was sinning. They caught her. She was wrong to do that. So, weren't they righteous snitches, right? To do that? Not according to the story. What was their purpose in that? Their purpose was to lift up their own righteousness and catch Jesus in a trap. So Jesus simply turned to them and said, "Let he who is without sin throw the first stone." And so we realize in that case that Jesus was more concerned about the motive of their hearts, not about the sin they were snitching on.
Right.
So clearly heart motive matters, which I thought was pretty interesting. Thank you, Google.
Oh, podcast. Oh, man. I'm doing something here. Troy says to Isaac that he agrees. Isaac says there's a difference between tattling and informing authorities for the safety of others.
Did you know that Isaac, though, how, like, we even make it, like, tattling? That sounds bad. Informing authorities sounds respectable.
Yeah. And doesn't it all depend who you are?
Yeah.
Because what you call it is all depending on, like that woman that called on the golf people.
If she asked her, she'd be like, "Oh no, I was informing authorities. I wasn't tattling."
Yeah. So I like how you highlighted, which only the person in God would know, your motive. Only you know why you're calling. Serene says, I agree, definitely have to have Christian motives, not throwing others under the bus. Our heart definitely matters a lot. I'm really struggling with this because I have a house full of people. I've always had a house full of people, but my sister has been quarantining with us for almost 6 weeks, and her daughter is immunocompromised, and they came from the East Coast, thank God. But while I'm sacrificing like everybody else and not seeing Nana, Papa doing all that, and I'm like, wow, if people see and don't understand that they don't know the whole story, they could be judging me. And I may never be able to clarify what's going on. Or the kids, they wanted to go on a walk after Easter dinner. And then one of the kids, and then Len was like, you know how crazy we're going to look? All kinds of calls, people going to be stopping by, yelling stuff. We can't go on walks. Because people don't get, okay, I'm trusting everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Roseanne says, good morning. Don't we kind of think that when it comes to reporting people to authorities, unless they're committing a crime, perhaps we should approach them first? Thank you. That's so deep.
Yeah,
somebody brought that up.
From 6 feet.
Yeah.
Approach them and stop at 6 feet. But
as Christians, isn't that the better approach? Do you think that's the answer? First, approach people first, no matter what. If it's a business.
No, I think the first step is to analyze your own motives. Because as I was saying before, this becomes a noble endeavor when we can talk about this woman videotaping the golf course. Because most of you are not doing that. I mean, I'm not doing that. You're not doing that.
No.
The average person is not doing that.
I'm busy.
But what about, let's say you see Janelle and her sister, and clearly they're not, like they should, based on the rules, they ought not be together, but based on the reality of their situation, they're fine because they were together before quarantine and they stayed together in quarantine. Yeah. They're following the expectations. But if I go and start snitching on them or go and talk to them about it, am I doing it because I'm just jealous because I'm not with my sibling?
Yeah.
Am I doing it because I miss my mom and it's not fair she gets to be with hers? You see how that's
or even in our hearts. I can do this too. We went on a walk because the girls get all antsy, and the neighbors are super sweet. But I always think, oh my gosh, they have to be thinking, what are these two adults doing together? They're obviously, they could assume they're not a couple. Look at these kids, And so it made me think, man, I do that. You could look at people and just assume and judge, even if you never say anything. So it just catches me on like, wow, be mindful. You don't know the whole story. There's foster kids. There's blended families. Troy says, growing up, we just minded our own business. Now that I'm an adult, I still just mind my own business.
Isn't life easier when you mind your own business? Yeah, exactly.
But where's the line, though? Because some people are like, well, I want to be a concerned citizen. And like in my house, it helps when somebody says, Raina's in the kitchen. That helps.
Okay. So, and I want to get to that. First, though, Rob's talking junk again, I think.
He is. Rob says, good morning, family. Janelle, would you mind calming Brian's insecurities about me? I'm actually a blessing to his spiritual and mental growth. That's right.
You name it and claim it, Rob. Name it. I love you, man. That's great.
David said, most people don't have common sense.
Yeah, but I liked your scenario. I'm going to make it even more specific, though. Let's just say you're at a grocery store and you see a group of employees standing really close together talking. without masks on.
Mm.
Now, that generally could impact your safety and someone else's safety. So what do you do? You snitch? So who? Like, who do you tell? Do you go talk to them? Do you
It's awkward.
call
to
their
talk to
boss?
them.
Do you call the police?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Call the manager?
And is there a scenario in which you just go, you know what? This is not my fight. I'm out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But when do you start being a concerned citizen?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. It's
You
like,
know, it's complicated, you're saying?
yeah, like, I guess the level at which I want to become a snitch has got to be pretty intense.
Yeah.
Like, would you call the police if you suspected somebody was violating quarantine and social distancing at a public place?
I would only call the police if I had to call somebody, and it would be the non-emergency line. If I saw someone, let's say at a park, trying to social distance and someone else, and them saying, please stop, or them coughing on them.
But you're talking more like an assault.
Yeah, I could see myself like, oh my gosh, like she's trying to stay away from you, and you're coughing on her, or but I don't see no, I don't even have enough time to even notice. Aren't you busy, like, trying to get
We should be so busy we don't got time for all that, to be honest. Well, that's not necessarily true, but we had someone text us and say that they know of people in their community in Amish country that they go for a daily drive to go and, like, citizens arrest, check on the Amish to see if they're following the rules.
Because they know it's a wedding season, and there was something else they were checking on. Yeah, and so they go and drive. They check to see what are they doing in their buggies. Like, this is crazy. This is local.
Like, why don't you go, like, volunteer somewhere, or go and make some masks, or take a nap? I just feel like when you're going looking for an opportunity to be a snitch.
Yeah.
Aren't you already in the wrong motive? I'm going to go out and see if everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. Isn't that a log in your own eye versus splinter in your neighbor's eye? I mean, it's like, goodness sakes, calm down.
So Mike is maybe calling me out. He says, so Janelle, how do you teach the rule for your children on snitching on one another?
Ooh.
It's on little things. So if they let me tell you where the main rule is. It's when I say stop going in the kitchen. You go grocery shopping and they ravage through the fridge and get stuff. And so I'll set that rule, and I'm like, if you see someone and they went in the fridge and you didn't tell me, you're in trouble too. But I also shared at the end of the show, on a more serious note, my kids tell each other their secrets, the ones that are like close in age. And so I've told them, I never say, I never check on one with the other. But I've told them, if your sibling ever tells you something that you're like, oh my gosh, an adult needs to know this, to tell me. So I always check and say, make sure or whatever. But snitches are convenient.
By the way, Troy's a snitch. You see that?
He is. He said, yes, I did call the police on two of my neighbors because they were having a birthday party and they had like 30 people in the front yard. I felt really bad afterwards, but that was a really stupid thing to do, to have a party with all them people 2 houses down from me, but I feel bad about it. Well, what should he have done differently? I can think of something.
Go ahead.
It's a neighbor.
What are you going to do? Go talk to him?
Yeah.
What are you going to say?
It is awkward.
Excuse me. Shut down this party.
No, you go and talk to your neighbor and say, hey. Yeah, that's so awkward. But calling the police on your neighbor?
I get where Troy's coming from. What would you do if your neighbor had a party in the front yard with 30 people right now?
I would just be like, oh my gosh, they're crazy. I do not call. I called the cops one time on a neighbor recently after Len talked to the neighbor. And it was regarding, you need to put your dog on a leash. There's all kinds of little kids all up and down the street. So Len went to her door and was like, this is what's going to happen if this becomes an issue. So that's what I'm thinking. Don't you want to be the kind of neighbor that could have said, I talked to you first. But then it's like you said, it's so awkward.
What you going to say?
Yeah.
And so scroll up a bit here because Roseanne said something pretty interesting about our grocery store scenario.
Roseanne says, I would speak to the group of employees, Brian, just express concern and that people like me may not shop in their store if they don't follow their own guidelines. Most people are reasonable.
See, Roseanne, my mother was a lot like you where she had no trouble doing that. She saw an employee, she just walked right up to him. My wife, in so many situations, will walk. She sees like teenagers on a playground swearing. I don't care where we are. She'll walk right up to them and go, "Excuse me, You need to stop that right now.
That's good. She was a cop, though.
I do not have that kind of courage.
Yeah. What do you think they're going to do to you?
Would you walk up to the employees in the grocery store? You've got that same thing in me that you got where you're like, I don't want to upset people.
No, I don't like,
I mean, it's one thing here on a camera when you can't do anything back to me. But,
yes.
but I don't think that Roseanne's wrong in her action. I think that'd be the better thing to do. But, I mean, if you're in Troy's spot, you're not, you could sit here in your chair in the studio and say you wouldn't call the police, but you're not going to go over there and talk to that neighbor?
I'm not. I just would stay in my house. I don't like confrontation. And I don't like, Troy says, sweetheart, my neighbors don't like me. I'm a country boy who lives in an upper school neighborhood. I ride my horses around the neighborhood. I have motorcycles. They don't like me, and I have absolutely no filters, so I can't go talk to them. That's hilarious.
I wish I could ride a horse around with my neighbors.
Gary says, good morning to my favorite radio host. Gary's about time you include me.
I can't believe you made that plural.
Great listening to Rydelnik earlier about the tribulation and the mark. I explained this to my mom yesterday, and with Michael topping it off with an answer.
Yeah. No, he was great today, wasn't he? That was good stuff.
Troy's neighbors are stuck up. Mike Carswell, what's up?
Ooh, Mike Carswell.
He says he doesn't have nice neighbors. Not all neighbors get along.
Yeah,
with
so,
one
I mean, you almost know it's a foregone conclusion. If you go and talk to them directly, it's not going to go well.
Yeah, there are. That's true. There are some neighbors that.
But you're saying it would be better in your circumstance. Is it better or just what you would do to just ignore it?
I ignore it. I think it's
Is
best
that better
to
or is that just weakness?
Mind your own business.
Because on my part, it might be weakness if I don't call.
Sarah would call. Len wouldn't even call. Len does a whole lot of minding his own business.
Sarah's got no time for any of that.
Dang. You know when Len doesn't mind his own business? Whenever and I've seen him, and he's almost gotten, is it bad to say physical, with a man because he saw a man messing with a little kid, and Len was like, where's this little kid's parent? And then approached the guy and was like, yo, don't mess around. Or like when he approached the neighbor and was like, your dog is a problem. But in the case of the party, he's like, they ain't messing with me, so let them do their thing.
But in the case of quarantine, they're your neighbor, so yes, it does impact you.
How? You're not supposed to even be getting close to your
come
neighbor.
over touching your stuff. You know how parties get. Your neighborhood, your houses are close together.
Wow. Meredith says, the Amish wedding that happened a few weeks ago here was reported because of the size of the group. Then the health department released a letter reminding them that there are no more than 10 people in any group. Aaron says, hi Aaron, I just don't like where that leads when we start snitching on each other. It creeps me out.
But aren't there times like Mordecai's snitching in the scripture was a good move? It saved lives.
That's a whole lot of people. Troy, wait, Mike. So Haley. Hi, Haley. Oh, Haley. Look at her.
Hey, what's up,
man?
Haley? Oh, she's about to Facebook stalk. Here it comes.
So
Here it comes. Oh, she clicked on your name.
Kids. Look at her kids.
She Facebook stalks people.
Wow, your kids are adorable. You have a beautiful family, Haley. And then look at you, super active. Brian don't know nothing about that.
So she gets one picture in a kayak and she's super active?
Man. Would you get in a kayak?
I got a picture of me in a kayak.
She in the middle of the lake. Would you get in the kayak? She
Wait a minute. I don't think she was in the middle of the lake.
She was not posing.
That's not the middle of the lake. She could be right off the shore.
And she's a clinical counselor. Wow, you so amazing, Haley. Haley says, I would mind my... See that? I would mind my own business. See that? Thank you. You're awesome, Haley.
But isn't there a time when you don't mind your own business, Janelle?
That is a problem?
So those 30 people start spilling their party into your front yard, touching your stuff. Go ahead.
No, that's different.
What are you going to do?
That's not calling because of quarantining. Now you're trespassing.
Is that a legitimate biblical snitching?
Yeah, you're trespassing. You're in my space, especially in a situation like now. But if
so
you do
thou
your
shalt
thing,
tattle on people who trespass on your private property?
Oh my goodness. Haley, she's waving. Haley likes me. Haley, I'm your favorite. You'll find out.
She's waving at me.
Jennifer says, I saw somebody I knew was positive out and about. I might report them, but I didn't report my neighbors when they got together for an Easter egg hunt that did not abide by social distance.
What's interesting, though, is why didn't you? Like, no one's been able to accurately give us some sort of litmus test for knowing when it's appropriate to snitch.
Yeah.
I think we've all agreed that there are times when it's it's permissible or wise. But what's the litmus test? How do you know? And by the way, Haley has not indicated she was in the
She
middle of the
loves
lake.
me. Haley, I'm your favorite.
No, she's just doing emojis. So she probably was not in the middle of the lake, and just because she was in a kayak doesn't mean she's active.
You're awesome, Haley. Montina says, I think that's the thing. Why you feel the need to say something, to say anything, unless there's abuse being seen.
Yeah.
Montina, we miss you, girl. Meredith says, part of the mind your own business is what effect could it have on your family if you just minded your own business. Yeah. A birthday party or wedding with a large group, when it comes from the governor, is first off not right and it's unsafe. See? I think I would have to say something when it comes to the safety or life of my own loved one.
She's drawn a line.
Oh, okay.
Because it puts people at risk. Haley is saying she's active.
I am active. I can see it. Look, you look in shape, girl. Look at you. Oh my goodness. I'm not getting creepy. You're just good.
As she scrolls through your Facebook
timeline. Isaac says, I have been working through this whole thing, so it seems to be a blessing that I haven't had time to sit at home and be nosy as to what others are doing. I have bigger problems to worry about right now.
Yeah, like you got to keep that beard up, man.
And David says, same here. Serene, love your name. Welcome back. She says, we don't know their stories, as in if they all work together, they're exposed to each other anyways.
Yeah, it's true.
Roseanne says, Brian and Janelle, here's a good example. It is against the law to smoke in a vehicle with minors in it. Ooh, I didn't even know that. Do people call the police every time they see a mom or a dad smoking with their child in the car seat in the back? Sometimes there's nothing to be done about the recklessness of other people.
That's just how do you know? You know what I mean? Like, how do you know when it's time?
Meredith says, if I would have contact with them at some point, it would affect me. And if I knew that I had to have contact, then it would be in my best interest to say something.
Summary of her comments for you, Janelle. You don't know what you're talking about.
No, they have a similar line to my amazing husband. They said, Montina said, if it affects my family.
So this is getting down to, I've already said it for me, it's a courage issue. You just haven't admitted it yet.
Oh my goodness. Troy said the police never.
Look at you, just move on from that.
For me, I don't like controversy or confrontation, number one.
So you're supposed to only do things you like then?
And it doesn't affect me. I don't got time to worry about
That's in the Bible then?
Oh my goodness.
Do things you like. Go ahead.
Wow. Okay. Mark.
She won't admit it.
Have
you seen this?
Mark says, no, I would say that you shouldn't. If you end up telling on someone, that person will be looking for the smallest thing they could possibly get you for. Like violating the noise ordinance. Yeah. They would get us on that. It just opened a whole can of worms. I think the golden rule applies here. If you wouldn't appreciate the cops being called and causing a big scene, you shouldn't call it on them. Rather, go talk to the person.
Yeah, Mark's bringing up that complexity of you have to think of the long-term neighbor relationship.
Yeah, man.
Is it worth the cost?
My kids, they don't know I'm working. That's the second time.
They're calling you again?
Yeah. But you know what it is?
You should answer it next time they call on here.
I will. It says restricted. You know what it is? That's Nia. Hey, Google, can you call Mommy? That's who it is, because everybody else got a phone.
Next time, you got to answer it, and I want to hear how you handle that.
Jennifer says, but I have called when I saw somebody driving around with a small child not strapped into a car seat. Isaac says,
but
Brian.
See, with Jennifer's case, that seems to me to be the righteous motive, right? The kid's driving around without being strapped into a car seat. That's a total safety issue.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't she right in snitching?
In that case, yeah.
Would you? No, that's a no. You had to think too hard.
I've called cops on a parent one time. It wasn't because of the car situation. I would have to be in that situation. I've actually seen it and didn't call. And it was an infant.
You can admit it yet?
No, in that case, it's no confrontation. No, not in that case. In that case, I have to be tuned in. Whatever. Sarah says, agreed. Wait, she's talking to Roseanne.
You said something about Isaac, though, first.
I did?
Brian, my wife, was encouraging me to trim the beard back the other day, but I'm not ready yet. Yeah, hey, who's the head of the house there, man? Come on. Just kidding, dude.
That's because Sarah's not on, please.
If she wants you to trim that beard, you may want to think about it, bro.
Thank you.
Happy wife, happy life, man.
What's up, Beverly?
Bible, true.
Beverly made it. Serene says, I like to call when kids aren't seatbelted or parents smoking. Troy says, you would be protecting someone who can't protect themselves when a parent is just being ignorant. Yes, you should call the police. Mike says, so you guys with the grown beards, are you going for Amish thing or Orthodox Jew?
If I was going for Amish, I'd shave right here.
shave? They
They
don't
shave
have
right
it.
here.
Oh, I don't know.
And Orthodox Jewish people have long
Yeah,
curls right here.
curls.
So I'm just going for Brian. That's what I'm doing.
Yes.
Nope. Any last
Marcy,
comment?
what's up, Marcy? Does anyone ever grow up? Now we're comparing us to other states.
Yeah.
Exactly. David said, Kathy, my girl. She says, I called the police for a welfare check on someone who said she had suicidal thoughts on social media. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Hey, see? Tattling.
And Jennifer
good
says,
reason.
I've called for that too. Oh, no. Jennifer and Serene have called for drunk driver.
But see, again, I don't think that's a bad motive, right? Isn't that a safety motive? And you're going out for the welfare of others. So I think that catches the whole biblical filter.
I had to call CPS on a parent, and I hated it. But at that point, I was like, if I don't call and something happens, I would feel horrible. Doesn't that suck to have to do that? Oh, it stinks. But I like what you said about you can live with the call if you know you called with the right motive and just give it to the Lord.
Yeah.
You know, because even if you're calling for a seatbelt thing, that's a parent that could lose their kid, or like if you engage the police, the ramifications could be pretty sad. Meredith says, you guys have a wonderful day. We love you, Meredith. She says she's going to go to her barn with her baby goats.
While she's doing some work, Janelle, meanwhile, is going to go home and have her kids do all the work while she relaxes.
I bake. Eva says, I
Don't
called
bake.
about the children recklessly running on a slanted roof. Oh, and climbing in and out of the window. Wow.
Yeah. By the way, she does not bake. She said that she hasn't baked, and she said
press that button, bake.
She said at least 5 years. At least 5 years.
Wow,
Use
you
past
really
tense.
entertain that. You don't get tired of talking about it?
I like accuracy. So it's good to see you guys. Hope you snitch for the right reasons, okay?
Wow. Or just mind your own business.